Okay, so we're talking here about one of the most renowned, famous trails in the entire world, the Inca Trail. And there's a couple of reasons why, this is such an incredibly popular trail, why everybody has heard about the Inca Trail. The first, of course, is that we are walking through pretty stunning scenery. We're here in the heart of the Andes. But maybe, less discussed is the fact that this genuinely is an old Incan trail that connected the capital city of the Incas, Cuzco, to one of their most holy, sacred, religious sites, Machu Picchu. So although the Incas were incredible engineers, we're talking about 14,000 miles of road. This particular portion of road was very special to the Incas, and for that reason this is UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's so carefully managed and looked after. Now this is a 4-day hike, and it's only a one-way hike from Cusco to Machu Picchu. Once we get to Machu Picchu, we actually take transport back, the bus down from Machu Picchu and the train back to Cusco. So it's a one-way trek, it's not a circuit trek, meaning we're going to leave our heavy bags, all the stuff we don't need for the trail, at the hotel in Cusco, and we're going to pick that up on our return. Now, distance-wise, this isn't too bad. We're talking about 25 miles, about 45 kilometers over 4 days. So it's not the distance that makes this tough. For the hikers out there, you know that that's not too bad. What makes this a bit more challenging is the up and down and the altitude. Particularly on day 2, we're really pushing up. We're going to the highest pass on the Inca Trail, and that's known as the Dead Woman's Pass. Now, it's not as ominous as it sounds. Everybody can accomplish this thing. There are a couple of secrets to getting to 4,200 meters, 12,600 feet. One would be, drinking water helps. Sometimes the porters will provide us with cocoa tea, and that's going to help a little bit. There are some pretty good altitude sickness pills out there, but there's really 2 solutions to altitude. And the first is to acclimatize. So it's always recommended to spend at least 1 or 2 nights in Cusco, which is at about 3,200 meters, before we head out on this trail, because we are going up to 4,200 meters. So after we've spent a couple of nights at 32, 42 isn't so bad. The other solution to altitude is to go down. So keep in mind, we're only at 4,200 meters for a pretty short duration. Now, there's a couple of other secrets here to the Inca Trail, why anybody who enjoys hiking and is in reasonable fitness can do this trail. Well, the first secret is to take it slow. Okay, and there's no rush to complete the Inca Trail. I've done it myself 4 times. I've done it with people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. What you're seeing here is my oldest ever client, who was 73, hiking the Inca Trail with his wife from New Zealand, taking their time. They completed this thing, no problem. The other secret to the Inca Trail, and equally important, would be our superheroes on the Inca Trail, our porters. Okay, so these guys have a very important job as we're walking the trail. First of all, they're going to take 5 kilograms of our personal stuff. So we're literally going to have a weigh-in before we start the trail. 5 kilograms they're going to take, meaning we only end up walking, maybe with a small change of clothes, a bottle of water, and a snack. And the other, thing these guys do that's so incredible is they put up camp, take down camp, cook the food, do the dishes. So our only job on this trek is to walk. Okay, we're not doing any of the logistical stuff along the trail. And it's quite amazing what these guys can prepare in terms of food at, 3,000, 4,000 meters above sea level. Pretty phenomenal food as we travel through. It is 3 nights camping, and no, there are no Hilton upgrades along the Inca Trail, thankfully. Camping is what you're getting. We are going through the ancient Sacred Valley. So this whole area was very, was inhabited by the Incas, and we're going to see ruins along the way, lots of llamas along the way, and of course some stunning scenery. Now, worth pointing out that, this isn't an extreme trek. We don't need crampons or rope. There's no crazy ladders or overhangs. Okay, it's just a nice up and down through the Andes. So even if you are a bit scared of altitude, of heights, probably won't affect you too much. Okay, so the best time to do the Inca Trail is between May and October. That's the dry season. Once you get through to kind of November, December, through to March, we're looking at the wet season. So we have to be prepared, with maybe rain jackets and boots for the mud. If you're going to avoid any month, it's February. They actually do now close the Inca Trail for maintenance. So keep that in mind, that's quite important. But another really important thing to remember here, and this is kind of the crucial point, is that we do need a permit to walk this trail. There's 500 permits released per day. and staff are required to have a permit as well, the cooks, the porters, and the guides. So that leaves generally between 200 and 250 permits for all the international visitors who want to walk the Inca Trail every day. And that's why, if we're going in the peak season, which is July and August, we need now to be booking this thing 4 to 6 months in advance. Okay, outside of that, 2 to 4 months in advance is usually okay, depending on your luck. People think they're just going to pop into Cusco and get onto the Inca Trail. Well, you might be sitting there in Cusco waiting 2-3 weeks for somebody to actually cancel on the trail until you'll be allowed to go. This is a very, very heavily managed trail, okay, and these permits, is the system in place to make sure the trail doesn't get deteriorated too much. So here's a handy grid of the Inca Trail, okay, and this kind of illustrates what it's like when you're on the trail. You can see, just keep in mind that the times you see here include breaks. Okay, so this isn't like somebody behind you with a whip pushing you along. Day 1, you can see 7 hours, pretty moderate day. Day 2, as I mentioned, we're pushing to that highest pass, the Dead Woman's Pass, 4,200 meters. Bit of a descent in the afternoon. Day 3, pretty moderate morning, but I always found this part the toughest. Day 3, coming down in the afternoon, a big descent coming through some of the high jungle. Day 4, okay, we're up at about 5:30 a.m. So very early in the morning, we're going to start. We're going to do the final 2 hours through to what's called the Sun Gate. And this is the ancient entrance into Machu Picchu. And you can see from the grid that from the Sun Gate, you're looking down at Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu is actually at a much lower elevation than the Inca Trail, and it's at a much lower elevation as well than Cusco. Okay, it's at about 2,400 meters. So we get to the Sun Gate, which looks a little something like this. Okay, nothing much to see at the Sun Gate till we get over the crest. And if we're very lucky, we're going to see something that looks like this. Okay, we're up here, hopefully, and this, I've done this trail 4 times, and I caught this once where the fog started to disperse in the morning. We sat here for about an hour and a half till the fog was lifted, and we're left with that just incredible vista of Machu Picchu. Now, what's amazing about these ruins is the fact that they were, it's not the size of the ruins. We have bigger, better ruins in Mexico and Guatemala. It's the engineering that went into creating this site on the mountainside. And the crucial thing here is we're here early. Okay, it's 7:30 a.m. The train hasn't arrived. Helicopter tours haven't arrived. All hell hasn't broken out over Machu Picchu. We're here before the big hordes of tourists come. So we can get a shot like this, a pristine shot of Machu Picchu, and that's really one of the very special things about doing the Inca Trail, having this few hours here in Machu Picchu to take in the serenity of the site. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something, and hope you'll continue your tour with me. I'm at www.kevinsworldvideotour.com. Thanks for listening.